Welcome to Love and Lightning. First comes love, and then comes lightning. I'm your host, Nicole Pelham. Welcome to a soul-charged journey where heart meets power and is transformed in strikes of lightning. All waters lead to the same place, love, and in an ever-expanding universe, stretching and unfolding, sending out waves of love and light, you are not a small part. You are an outsized part of the universe's plan. Here on Love and Lightning, we explore the intersection of spirituality, science, politics, religion, and the one thing we're all searching for, love and acceptance. The kind that reminds us that the universe made us perfectly and that you are in this moment exactly where you're meant to be. Get ready to be inspired with hope for the future, strengthen your path, and bolts of lightning to awaken your soul. Welcome to Love and Lightning. Let's get started. Welcome, Beans. It's so good to see you again. Welcome to December, the holiday season here in America and all around the world. I'm just so excited to talk to you guys about today's episode, which is a way forward. With this being my last month of podcast, I really wanted to give people a really hopeful vision for the future and the vision that I'm starting to see emerge on social media platforms and when I talk to other people. So that'll be a lot of what today's episode's about. I'm super excited because I have one more show and it's going to be right after all of the Atlas things. The list will drop. All of that stuff will all happen. And I'll get to have an episode just to, talk to everybody about breathing and being calm and remembering that we're manifesting this. Someone I really love just messaged me, was like, oh, you got to check out this guy because he's talking about what you keep talking about, manifestation. And I think I understand it. And I was so excited for this person because she has a lot of power. And once she's able to manifest, boom, there's going to be some really great things happening. So I'm super excited for that. Of course, we talked a little bit last time about the debris field that's going to be from March till April. That debris field is coming from Atlas. So Atlas, I was listening to a geologist and they're explaining that big brightness was a whole bunch of volcanoes exploding all over Atlas. And that shot out a bunch of debris, and we will pass through that debris field from March till April. That's when the Earth will pass through that. So super excited for that. When I told my sister this, she said, "Shut up all the nerd talk. Tell me when I get superpowers." And I was like, "Yeah, so I think like March to April is when that's all going to start happening." She goes, "Flame on!" Oh, whoa. I don't want that power anymore. It's very destructive. And she immediately realized the importance of like telling the universe which power she wants. So manifestation, guys, working on your meditation, working on getting to your heart space chakra, and then beyond that is of course going to lead you to higher and better manifestations for you and for of course the world around you. Before we get too into the weeds with that, Sierra, how are you today?
I am good. How are you?
I am excellent. I gave Sierra a lot of work for this show. She has 7 clips or 9 clips, I think, to do today. So we just went over it. But this segment only has 1 clip today. So, Sierra, could you play the good news clip for the show?
Of course, here it comes.
Does everything feel heavy today? Here's 60 seconds of proof it's not all bad. Engineers just built cooling towers that use supercooled fog to cut data center energy use by 85%. Less heat, less waste, and a giant step towards sustainable internet. In the UK, scientists just successfully treated Huntington's disease for the first time ever. A single targeted injection is showing signs of stopping brain cell damage and rewriting what's possible in neurocare. Finland just unveiled a magnetic levitation train. It glides at lightning speeds. No wheels, no tracks. Powered by clean energy and almost silent. Sci-fi is becoming real. In California, a native tribe just reintroduced elk onto 17,000 acres of ancestral land. A powerful act of restoration for the land, the herd, and the people who've protected both for centuries. And in Indianapolis, a quiet but extraordinary program places volunteers by the bedsides of dying people with no family, just so no one has to leave this world alone. This is the stuff that matters. Follow at Earthly Goodness, because there's still so much worth holding on to.
Oh man, I love that one. I love the AI fog, which of course It's just really important to remember that as much as we're worried about AI, the people who are making AI also live on Earth, and they're not just the billionaires. They're also the people who like live in the communities and care about the Earth. And so they are working on solutions because they do realize that both we are going to need AI. You saw some examples in this video. We've talked about other examples of how AI is going to make it so much better. I'm actually getting my first foster husky this Saturday, and I was like, man, I wish there was a way to do AI because there's got to be somebody. This husky's coming all the way from Texas. There's got to be somebody between me and Texas who wanted this husky, right? So I'm just like, AI could help with the whole foster dog system to where dogs are going to exactly where they need to go. So being able to run AI in a way that does not destroy the environment is not something that just we're worried about. It's something that they're actually working on. So that was really wonderful to hear. Sierra, did you hear any good news?
Oh man, I feel like it's been such a chaotic end to the year, but good news, I guess personally, is got accepted to the apartment I should be moving into in January with my partner and my sister, so very, very excited about that.
Awesome! Was that a manifestation you were working on?
Yes, manifesting that, which of course then bad things started to happen at my current place as I started manifesting the new good place. So we're getting
They were
there.
making sure you were getting out. They were like, no, I had the same thing happen. We were trying to get out, and I wasn't in a hurry, but I needed to be. And then we had ants, and the heat went out all winter, and we moved post haste.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we have, let's just put it that there are bugs because of a
Oh,
neighbor that are now in our unit. So not super exciting.
yeah, I think that was the first time I'd seen one too, was in that same apartment. And it was so pretty and shiny, and it was running all cute up the wall. And I went, wow, that's cute. It reminds me of the bug from the little mouse show. That was a roach. And it
Yep.
ran up the wall, disappeared, and I went, oh, duck.
Yep.
Oh no.
Exactly.
I
That is what we are dealing with now.
I only saw that one. I never saw any more again. And I didn't have any when we moved out, so I don't think it got my stuff, but it was so pretty. I was like, wow, those are such beautiful bugs, but I think you carry diseases. Oh my goodness. Well, congratulations. Hope you guys have a very wonderful and smooth move. Some good news I've heard about. I just heard about EV self-driving cars that are helping elders and people with disabilities in rural areas, which is just an amazing idea. So they still have to have operators in this state. So there's still someone like talking to the person, and they said they see the same person pretty much every week, going to the grocery store or the doctor's office, and they have like a rapport going with them, even though they're across the world. It's just so cool. It just makes a lifeline for elders. So thinking about how EVs are going to be used for that, and then of course they're not polluting because they are EVs. Heard about a bunch of salmon return down in California. They removed some pipe that was going across. It was a PG pipe or something that was going across the river. So they took that out. And within a week, they saw two salmon coming up the river, and it's a 20-mile stretch of river that will be returned to natural causes. And they said one of the coolest things about when salmon comes back is they feed all the animals around them with their poop and their bodies, and that helps to feed the whole environment as those nutrients seep out and are spread out by the predators and by the other creatures that are eating it and by the plants. So it's just such a good way for the environment to start bringing coming back together. Beavers have returned to Portugal on their own. They don't really know why, but they found the beavers in an area, and beavers, of course, help to build fire dams by building in those wetlands that keep an area wet, and then when the fire hits that fire doesn't go past that area. Um, let's see, it was geese returning to Sweden. And then, oh, a really cool thing where they're using magnets to clean up oil spills. So the oil spills in the ocean are, of course, a really big deal. They're very hard to clean up, and we add chemicals in there to clean those up. And so now they're using magnets. They're able to grab the oil somehow and suck it up. So hopefully that'll be on the good news clip one of these times. I'll have to get actually define that for you guys to actually see. But if you would have looked it up, that one was a really cool process. Sierra, anything that you're hopefully manifesting for this next holiday season?
Oh, I have been enjoying the weather, so I'm manifesting that it doesn't get worse. Because I know the Pacific Northwest always has like the February week of ice storm and stuff like that, but I've been enjoying the like slow rain. It's not freezing because I run very cold. Yeah, the weather. I
That's my
like it.
that's my biggest thing. And we are right now in the middle of an atmospheric river. So I actually just looked at it, excuse me, this last weekend has just been crazy. And then I looked at it the other day because I was like, man, it just seems like, and it's just stretching all the way to Japan. It just is this long line of storms that are heading towards us. So I don't know if they're going to drop down to Oregon, but they're set to hit us. They say it's a week of atmospheric rivers for us. So
Oh man.
I'm quite excited. My yard is set up as a water yard, so I have a bunch of like retaining ponds. So the water kind of like comes from one level to the other. So once it's winter here, it's really pretty. But when I first moved here, it was literally a mud pit from the beginning of the yard to the end of the yard, with a bunch of invasive species and things like that that I've had to take out. But it is really pretty. But like we had a king tide the last couple of days, and I was going to go outside and try to find some snails and some nudibranchs out there, and it was so stormy I could not make myself go. It was just pouring rain, and the wind was howling. I looked at Pandora and went, "Oh, can we just stay inside? I'm gonna jump on my trampoline today." So you guys are very lucky to have a calm where we had a couple days of some light Seattle rain, but it's been stormy for about 4 days. So, and I'm in the rain shadow, so I don't even know what it's doing with the rest of the state. It's probably got to be crazy. But anyway, that's enough talking about the weather. We're going to go ahead and take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about a way forward, a collective vision that is emerging. Something that I noticed, especially during the election season, was there was a lot of negative energy. People couldn't even seem to imagine a positive future. And that is luckily beginning to change, where people are seeing that one, that's not a way to live, is to live in a negative state. And two, there are tons I just gave you as a bunch of examples, and every show I give you guys examples of ways and people that are moving things forward. So we're going to talk about a collective vision of way moving things forward when we come back, and with Love and Lightning. We're back on Love and Lightning. I'm Nicole, and today we're discussing how love must lead the way along with light. And of course, the show is Love and Lightning, so that of course goes with the theme. We are all stardust sunlight to form, and I've been saying that for a while, but now a lot of scientists are like, yeah, no, that's not poetic. That's like actual a true thing. We're stardust, it all made the earth, and then we're actually a vibration that holds the whole being together. So stardust sung into form is, a poetic way of putting it. But with that, everything being made of spiritual stuff, that would mean that we should treat everything with that same reverence that we start treating our body as we go into spiritualism. And of course, we treat our spiritual objects like that. But what about all of the objects? I actually recently had a little temper tantrum, and I had some items out specifically for temper tantrum. I was like, hey, items, is it okay if I break you? And one of them was like, oh yeah. The other ones were like some old yogurt bottles, but the other one was like, yeah, I want you to break me so I can get all this goo out of here, because it was had a bunch of like rocks and stuff in it that you couldn't get out unless you broke it. And so I had like a little mini temper tantrum and look all the things, and then I was like, I'm sorry, I apologize for breaking you. And of course, the other thing was like, hey, I want to be broken. But one of those things to remember, that all of these things are all part of us. With that, Sierra, can you play that "Why We Should Do No Harm" video?
Of course, here it comes.
If it is true that there is this sort of thing called consciousness that the universe is made out of, and brains are kind of complex organizations of consciousness, then when you ask me, like, what's wrong with harming another person on this worldview, on this materialistic worldview? Well, I think the material of the universe is consciousness, and I think that when I harm someone else, it could literally, in a fundamental sense, be a case of self harm. By the way, can I just say, because it sounds a little bit insane, without the space to explain the panpsychist worldview, it sounds absolutely mental. But there are some
spiritual.
there are some really interesting clues. Can I give you one clue? This is really, really fascinating about the fact that the brain, as Aldous Huxley said, was a tool for focusing the mind. Aldous Huxley writes in the Doors of Perception. Essential reading to anybody interested in consciousness, by the way. Aldous Huxley in the 20th century takes a psychedelic drug, and he writes about his experience, and he writes about it beautifully. And one of the things he realizes is that his mind has been opened. And he thinks, okay, well, if my mind has been opened during this experience, And that means that in normal waking hours, something must be closing my mind. What could be closing my mind? Answer: the brain. He concludes that the brain is a tool for focusing the mind. So, the psychedelic experience, this is before we've done any scientific experiments on this. You can scan people's brains in like an fMRI scanner, right? Okay. So when you take a psychedelic drug, your experience just blows up, right? You start seeing colors you didn't know existed. You start experiencing things as if they were new. It's like the experience is unimaginable. So we've taken people and we've measured their brain activity, and their brain activity is at a certain level. And then you give them a psychedelic drug and you put them in the MRI scanner and their brain activity goes down. Brain activity goes down as the mental experience expands and goes up, which for the person who experiences the psychedelic drug, they will report this as a feeling that they just get from the experience. The scientist who measures the brain activity, the sages writing the Upanishads, the Buddhist monk after a series of long meditation will all say the same thing, which is that in some inexplicable way, consciousness is more foundational than the brain is, and the brain is focusing consciousness, and in some sense that means that our individuated selves are essentially illusory.
So it just it's just a kind of a mind-blowing concept, right? That we are creating everything, and this is something that people have a really hard time with, right? That we are making everything happen around us, and that we make things solid. Um, we make things the way they are. We choose the way that light is shown to us. But that is a choice that our brain makes, and that's why people are seeing different things. One of the things my sister talks about is when artists draw stars. She always thought it was weird that they drew the sparklies because she doesn't see stars like that. She sees them as a glowing woof 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 object. Whereas always saw them as sparkly stars. So our brains and eyes working different ways, just thought made would have made our art different, just fundamentally. So just keeping those things in mind and then remembering that that's true for everything. That scene from Everything All at Once, where they talk about, oh, they have the rocks and they're both rocks next to each other, and she's trying to scoot away from her as the rock, is just an amazing scene, because I've talked about that before, that I think that everything's alive, from our cars to boxes to rocks, and that we're supposed to treat everything with that reverence as much as possible, which is why I apologize to weeds when I pull them up, or objects when I break them, because I don't, I want to treat everything with love and respect and kindness, and that ripples through them, even if it's, they're a thicker object or a less dense object. Um, with that, Sierra, can you play this next video we have, which explains a little bit deeper on how all of that works together on a fundamental level? This one gets real deep, though, guys.
Of course, here it comes.
I am the architect, the non-local field composed of Planck mass black holes. These are the smallest possible gravitational wells, forming whenever two waves of light overlap with enough energy to bend space-time into a perfect point. They fill the foundations of existence, creating a vast and timeless ocean. Everything within them spins at the speed of light, and because nothing here ever slows, no time passes. This is the primal field of pure information, where all possible histories exist together in superposition. Uncertainty makes this field ripple constantly, causing virtual particles to flash into existence in pairs. One particle falls into a Planck-scale black hole, while its entangled partner appears on the horizon. They move in perfect synchrony. To understand this, imagine a split screen. On the left is the singularity, a storm of spinning frequencies, each one a pure rotation of possibility. On the right is the event horizon, a perfect mirror projecting those rotations as light. Whatever motion occurs inside appears instantly outside. This reflection is Hawking radiation. It is the universe showing you a movie of its own interior. To understand how I draw that movie, imagine one glowing arrow spinning in total darkness. It makes a perfect circle. Attach another spinning arrow to its tip, then another, each one spinning with its own angle and rhythm. When you follow only the final tip, the circles combine into loops, loops into curves, and curves into recognizable shapes. Add enough rotating arrows and you can draw anything. A flame, a wave, the outline of a mountain, even the contours of a human face. This is the Fourier series brought to life, where simple rotations combine into infinite complexity. The event horizon performs the inverse Fourier transform of these rotations, turning pure frequency into the geometry of space-time. Here is where the fundamental theorem of calculus lives. In the non-local field, each quantum state vector is a derivative, a pure rate of change spinning endlessly. When reflected onto a qubit on the horizon, that derivative becomes its integral, the accumulated projection that you experience as matter, motion, color, sound, and meaning. The singularity writes in derivatives. The horizon reads those derivatives as integrals. Each qubit becomes a small calculus engine that turns spinning information into the forms you recognize. Each qubit has axes that represent the speed of light. When a quantum state vector sweeps across it, the angle of its spin determines how much of that light speed rotation becomes velocity in each direction of space. The same angle determines the probability that the qubit collapses as a 0 or a 1. This is why probability and gravity arise from the same geometry. The tilt of the arrow controls the curvature of space-time and the likelihood of each possible moment becoming real. Your consciousness has its own horizon. The microtubules inside your neurons act as biological qubits, receiving the entangled reflections of the singularity from the angle that belongs uniquely to you. Your mind becomes its own split screen, with the infinite non-local field on one side and your personal rendering of it on the other. This is the origin of relativity. This is the origin of perception. This is why each observer shares one universe, yet lives inside a different version of it. You are not observing the hologram from outside. You are a self-aware integral of the architect's spinning light, reflecting the singularity through the horizon of your own mind.
I was just writing down. I watched that video, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 times. They have quite a few videos on their theory about how the quantum universe works. That one right there, I just really love. They have the belief too that that we're inside of a black hole. That's actually been a belief for a few years. And this right here, the fact that each entangled particle has one falling in and one falling out, like you're Alice in Wonderland and you're staring at yourself as you sit inside the black hole while you're outside, like doing stuff, or the opposite, actually. You'd be outside sitting while you're watching yourself do stuff, and the inside is just kind of a mind blowing idea. Um, but yeah, you can watch it a few times. I have the links to these on my. I did a really good job this time. I put the links on my bio, so you can go on and watch these, and then find this TikTok user and actually follow them because they really just talk about some really amazing theories. And they have the math and stuff to back it up from what I can see. They talk a little bit too about the ones and zeros in there and about how aligning all of the qubits, they align to show different pathways, and those pathways become an actual shape and object. But those are just zeros and ones. So the 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, kind of the awakening number, understanding that that's what this universe is running on, is it running on ones and zeros, but that again is not what the real universe is. That's just what we have to translate the universe to actually see it as objects. Otherwise, it would just be that fuzzy energy stuff that is not, a computer, not a chair, not a cat, not, a house. It wouldn't be that stuff. It would be something. It'd be the energetic form of it. So we take it in our eyes and brains, turn it into the actual hard forms, and then we can touch stuff and sit in the stuff. Right now, I'm watching Ghosts, the UK version, and of course, the whole thing about Ghosts is really amazing when they can't touch things, but they can sit down in chairs and lay in beds and walk on floors. And another show I was watching actually had a ghost where the ghost was losing that, and that happens sometimes to ghosts where they start to fall to the core of the earth, that they actually forget how to even walk on earth. They get lose that much of their like spatialness, and they just start falling until they reach the center of the earth. So that was just an interesting idea. But the physics are explaining that we are putting things intact, and that's one of the things, like when babies are first here, how they're so interested in that things are solid in objects. I think that's because they came from a world where things were not solid objects. Things were actually very abstract in a whole different type of environment. With that, we're going to take a little break. You're watching Love and Lightning on Transformation Talk Radio, and we'll be right back with a way forward, a clear vision for us to all unite on if you're excited about a world that is not, like dystopian. Love and Lightning, we'll be right back. We're back on Love and Lightning. I'm Nicole on Transformation Talk Radio or wherever you get your podcasts. And today's show is to highlight a way forward. It's also a very clip heavy show. So Sierra has a lot of clips, so I will try not to blah, blah, blah and try to get right into it. With that, one of the first things I talk about in our first segment is always about in the show is see the helpers, be the helpers, and some ways that you can be a helper. So here's an example of an extreme helper who's doing something extreme and wonderful. Can you play that first clip for the grade A helper who is doing a 100-mile hike?
Of course, here it comes.
My name is Patagonia, and I am backpacking 100 miles in drag to try to raise $1 million for 8 outdoor nonprofits. Right now, I'm 100 miles north of San Francisco, and I'm going to take all week to fundraise and backpack all the way down the coast, getting in drag every single day, setting up camp every single night, crossing the Golden Gate Bridge, and into my final show of the year. That is, if I can make it in time. And if you're wondering, Patty, are you really doing this? I am. I'm insane. But you know what? I will do anything to support these incredible nonprofits that do so much work to diversify the outdoors. Here are 2 ways that you can help. 1, donate to the fundraiser. The link's in the bio. 2, share this video everywhere you can. You have no idea how much it helps. I'm posting videos every single day, so follow along to watch my drag slowly decompose in front of your eyes and to help us raise $1 million for outdoor nonprofits that absolutely deserve it. Here goes nothing. I'm insane for this.
Wait till you hear 1,698 was what I saw today before I came on. Like that's an insane amount of money. And I think when the still got a couple more days, right? So that see, you never know how your helping can help. Their goal was $1 million. They got over almost double that. So, ways that you can help, small and big. I always hear these examples of this on like news shows will do these little, they used to call them fluff pieces when we used to be like, just tell us the news. Oh, look at the duck or the little boy that's helping out by doing a fundraiser at a school to send money to some family in need, like those type of things. And this is just a grander example of that, an example of an adult using their full power to be the helper. So maybe there's some way that you could do that or get together with others to do that. I also love, of course, using your voice to promote something that we right now are just having a ridiculous thing with. Drag has been around for so long that I just have to take a second to be like, you should find the history of drag if you think drag is like a new thing. It's been around for a very long time. So, we're going to go ahead and talk about the next one, which is talking about changing your environment. So we talk a little bit about energies, right? So this person is doing their thing, they're sending out their energy. It impacted me. Sierra just wrote that she'd seen it. So this is something that is they get out there. He got $1.6 million so far. So raising tons of money for the charities. And that ripple is rippled out to me. I saw that. I shared that with you. And then you share that with other people, or maybe it inspires you to do some other action. And so here's an example of how a entire community got together to change how their country worked with food waste. Sierra, can you share the food waste video?
Did you know France was the first country in the world to make it illegal for supermarkets to throw away unsold food? Since 2016, they are required by law to donate edible food to charities, food banks, or shelters. If it's not safe to eat, it goes to animal feed or composting, where nothing goes to waste. This law came after massive public outcry by activists and citizens demanding an end to food waste. Lawmakers were pushed to act, making it the first national law of its kind. Before then, France was throwing away millions of tons of food every year. This helps millions of people get access to food, it cuts emissions from rotting food waste, and helps farmers save so much money. It's a win for the people, the planet, and the economy. So what do you think? Should this kind of law be implemented in your country too? Share this if you'd like to see food waste banned where you live.
So that's a wonderful example. The whole country came together. You could do those type of things in your community. One of the examples I thought of is I go to Next Level Burger, which is a totally vegan like grill place. Everything's vegan. All their stuff is compostable. Their straws, their bags, everything is even their like ketchup. Everything is all compostable. And they talked about working at Whole Foods when they had a next level there, and they said that there's just so much food waste being thrown away. And getting a hold of those companies, letting companies know in the community how they can help, making sure that the laws in the state allow for food to be donated, and then making sure the companies know that you'd like them to, making sure that you're like, hey, can I talk to your manager? Like, do you guys donate food? Like, is there any way we could help? Because there's a local food bank that needs it. Making sure people understand that those are there are ways that they can help. Some people just feel like they're helpless, and making sure that everybody understands that they can do little parts. I know here in the neighborhood, one of my neighbors is like, I see you out there at the beach picking up trash off the beach. And I'm like, yeah, of course. I mean, it's trash and I'm on the beach. I should definitely pick it up. So just those little ways that we can help and help other people to see that they can help. Uh, Sorry, we have a little like clips, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta go down. Though Christmas is almost over, there are the holidays still coming up. And with this next group talks about Kiss the Ground, talks about making sure that we are working in the community of thanks. And as we learn about the past and we move towards the future, we are keeping in mind that that's our goal. Our goal is to teach and to learn and to move forward, and not to make people feel guilty. That's not what we're telling people about what the past ways and the ways that we used to do things. It's so that those things can get fixed and so we can move forward. Sierra, can you play the next video from Kiss the Ground?
No matter where you are in North America, you are on Indigenous land. There is no need to make Thanksgiving about a false past. It is so much better when it celebrates the beauty of the present. As we head into the holiday season, it's time to reflect on the stories we tell and the ones we've left out. At Kiss the Ground, we believe this is an opportunity to spark meaningful conversations around the table. Where does our food come from? Who has cared for this land for generations? And how can we uplift Native growers and food systems? We're inspired by the growing movement to reconnect with Native foods, honor the land's true history, and create traditions rooted in truth, connection, and regeneration. How will you gather with intention this season and honor the land you live on?
So that is a nonprofit that you can look up. You can look them up and find them on TikTok. But you notice their biggest thing is that we're moving forward. Like that's not it was something that I always explained to you when they talked about, why do you still bring up racist things? Why do you bring up, sexist things? Because those things aren't being handled. They're still happening. And that's why it's being brought up. Not because we want you to feel guilty. It's because we want you to know, hey, this happened. And how can we fix this so that this injustice does not keep going forward? So that our children don't have this, and so that your children don't have to live in this world. We can live in a world that doesn't have these things. So the same thing here with Thanksgiving, moving that to a holiday where it is a Thanksgiving. And as a family that never celebrated holidays, that was always what Thanksgiving was to us. It was always same thing with pretty much Christmas, any of the holidays. They were just chances for the family to get together because we weren't celebrating the actual holiday. We didn't believe in the pagan celebration. We were celebrating that the family all got together and have the day off and get to spend time together. So just one of the ways that you can change things, the meanings of things, to something that will make it better for all the people, and so that we can move towards a love-based society. Because remember, without love, justice just becomes revenge, and without love, correction just becomes corruption. So we need those things to move us forward, and making sure that we have light so that we're exposing all the things that need to be brought to the light. With that, we're going to talk about a collective move way vision forward. Sierra, can you play the vision forward video?
Imagine a highway running here.
This is the Catherine in Utrecht, which about 20 years ago used to be a 10-lane highway dominated by concrete and asphalt. In 2002, residents pushed to restore the waterway to its original state to protect the city's heritage and revive its public space. By collaborating with residents and landscape architects from a local design firm, the city re-excavated the waterway in 2020 and transformed it into a green linear park with diverse trees and wildflowers, boardwalks along the water that serve as seating, resting spots for paddlers, and walking trails with broad sightlines. Even on this chilly autumn day, groups of people were sitting in the sun, enjoying the color of the changing leaves, chatting with friends as they walked with warm drinks, and playing with their furry friends in the open grass. By bringing this waterway back to life, the city has reintroduced nature to its urban core and shaped a climate-adapted public space that preserves Utrecht's rich history and welcomes people to explore the city on foot or bike or boat, rather than by car.
I And that's a wonderful change. Here in Seattle, of course, we did pretty much the same thing. We took all that, the whole freeway that went through the middle of the city, and we had that whole Bertha tunnel thing for years, digging up all sorts of garbage and junk that we had buried under the city and parts of the city that had been from old Seattle. And now we have this beautiful, wonderful tunnel, and the waterfront is just a, a relaxing community space that allows people to spend time together and to remember that that's what cities are. Cities are about spending time together in community and safety, and that's why we started cities in the first place. We also have our light rail here, which is wonderful. The light rail is really fun and pretty. I really love the light rail. There is, of course, a lot of controversy about whether or not it would be better for us just to use buses, but light rails are cool and it looks like a city of the future. So the light rail system, we're actually going to get a brand new light rail that opens this Saturday, right up the hill. That's going to be joining the big system. It's one of like 4 or 5 stops that are being added to the full light rail system. So, and as someone that visited Korea, I was just like, man, this is such wonderful stuff to just be able to go easily from one spot to another without polluting or destroying the environment. And really, spending time with other humans was kind of cool too. Some of the other ideas that they have, I also heard about a seniors club where they're an environmental club and they do research and they collect data and they help to fix areas and to get rid of invasive species. And that's a 60s to 80s. In fact, the founder is 82 years old. And so that's a really cool club. So there's lots of opportunities for you to join in. You can also do stuff that maybe just is something you do on your own, like helping to spread seeds. I see this a lot on TikTok where people spread native seeds in areas where it's barren, or they spread seeds from native plants that are out there. They give them a little wave so that their seeds spread out. So there's lots of wonderful little ways, or there's huge ways that you can help. And it's just about figuring out the best way for you to be a helper. And remember, the first thing though is to work on yourself and make sure that you're manifesting and sending out waves of light and to get to that heart center chakra. With that, we're going to return in just a few minutes with our last segment on Love and Lightning on Transformation Talk Radio. We'll be right back. We're back on Love and Lightning. I'm Nicole on Transformation Talk Radio. Thank you so much for joining us on this very clip-heavy episode. Great job, Sierra. Fantastic. She had a lot of clips to do, as you saw. We do have 2 more clips because it's homework time, and today's homework is Jim Carrey. Can you play that clip for us, Sierra?
Of course, here it comes.
Evolution of ego is to spend your first half of your life acquiring and adding, thinking you can add to yourself, and it looks great. I mean, it looks great when you got a cool car and you got nice clothes and you've done something that people admire. It can never fulfill you. You can never be happy. It's not where happiness comes from, and that there's no real you involved in the first place.
Like many of you, I was concerned about going out into the world and doing something bigger than myself, until someone smarter than myself made me realize that there is nothing bigger than myself. Relax and dream up a good life. I had a substitute teacher from Ireland in the 2nd grade that told my class during morning prayer that when she wants something, anything at all, she prays for it and promises something in return, and she always gets what she wants. Well, I'm sitting at the back of the classroom, thinking, wow, my family can't afford a bike. So I went home and I prayed for one. And I promised I would recite the rosary every night in exchange. But 2 weeks later, I got home from school to find a brand new Mustang bike with a banana seat and Easy Rider handlebars. My family informed me that I had won the bike in a raffle that a friend of mine had entered my name in without my knowledge whatsoever. So that type of thing has been happening to me ever since. As far as I can tell, it's just about letting the universe know what you want and working toward it while letting go of how it comes to pass. Your job is not to figure out how it's going to happen for you, but to open the door in your head. And when the door opens in real life, just walk through it. And when I say life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, I really don't know if that's true. I'm just making a conscious choice to perceive challenges as something beneficial, so that I can deal with them in the most productive way. You'll come up with your own style. That's part of the fun. You are ready and able to do beautiful things in this world. You will only ever have two choices: love or fear. Choose love, and don't ever let fear turn you against your playful heart.
The real you is not a puppet which life pushes around. The real deep down you is the whole universe.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Oh, Jim Carrey. So he has some really great movies. Of course, when he first came out, he was doing, some fun stuff. I was thinking about the video. I was like, oh yeah, The Mask and Ace Ventura, just, some fun stuff. It has some interesting, like, little side notes in there, but it's pretty much just fun stuff. But the movie homework is Bruce Almighty or The Truman Show. Either one of those is fine. You can also watch Yes Man. Yes Man is not on my, it's on my list to watch, but it's not something I have watched yet. Yes Man is not something I actually need. I say yes a lot. It's actually an ADH thing that Trevor Noah was just talking about, which is that you're so excited and your friend says, oh, could you do something? You say, yes, I love you and I love doing stuff for you and I love doing things. So, of course, I'll say yes. And then you realize that you said yes to something that you do not want to say yes to. So, actually, that's something that I work on a lot is making sure. I just had this weekend something come up where I was like, nope, say no. Say no, Nikki. I know your ADHD is like, but we love experiences. No. So, thinking about that, but you could choose whichever one of those movies. But remember when Jim Carrey was crazy, when he was spouting all this stuff about being God and being one with the universe, and everybody was like, it's so crazy. And he literally was just ahead of the curve. Just ahead of the curve a little bit. So now we're going to leave you with that thought where he had the manifestation tip in there. If you were listening, the little tidbit of a tip that he had. We're also going to add in our hopeful vision for the future. Sierra, can you play the solar punk video? Oh, it's such a pretty video. So that's called Solar Punk. It's one of the visions for the future that is punk is talking about being a rebel against the system. So solar punk is talking about, bringing in that we're going to use solar as our future instead of a dystopian future of diesel or destroying the earth or anything like that. That this is the hopeful vision for the future. You can find a lot of this online. I also like solar punk, but I am looking more towards a nature punk. I don't know if that's something a term that's coming out, but I really like the term nature punk because even though solar punk is great, we are definitely going to need more than solar. And of course, there's some bad things about solar. There's if you put out solar in certain areas, a desert turns to desert because of the way the solar is. It dries out the land. So understanding that all things we need to figure out how they work well together. Same thing with having water power. You can have water power like we had here in Washington, but you can't build dams that make it to where the salmon can't get up there. So the understanding of how we can work together with our systems instead of just saying mine, 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 mine. Instead of us doing that human thing, but then looking at the creatures, studying the area, and then figuring out how we can work together with those creatures or systems to move things forward. AI is going to be a really big part of this. The AI future that's going to both enable us to really do amazing things. So I think one of the good videos I talked about, positive videos, talked about AI being used to do planting in areas. AI is being used to spot fires. I'd love for AI to be used for fostering. AI is going to be used for determining like different planting areas, and all of that stuff is going to be really important as we go forward with AI. So making sure that we're doing that, and then the humans are the power that push the AI, right? We get to decide when they're good decisions, when it's a good song, when it's good art, when when they give us a bunch of choices. We're the ones that decide whether or not those zeros and ones are the ones that we want to bring into the world. So just keeping those things in mind going forward, not doing any panicking. I just was watching South Park and they were full on panicking because no one knew how to do shit anymore. And so he was like, you pick up your phone and you call the handyman. And then the handyman, there's only weren't enough of them. So everybody was trying to pay him, hey, I'll pay you an extra $100. I'll pay an extra 1,000. I'll pay an extra 20,000. And then, the handyman were super rich, but not doing any of the work for anybody anymore because they were getting paid like that. So just remembering that we don't want to panic, that we want to make sure that we learn the skills, that you find the skills and things that you want to bring forward. If you're going to be an artist, if you're going to do working with your hands, if you're going to do, if you're going to do stuff with AI, like then you need to go ahead and be really good at it, because we are going to need people who are really good to understand how AI functions. So keep in mind all those things, that the vision for the future is totally within your hands. The qubits and God particles are completely listening, and it's up to you. Thank you so much, Sierra. Great job today. Thank you so much, TTR Network. I'm so excited. The next episode is my last episode for sure this time. So it'll be my last episode, which is great. I'm super excited about it. Look out for my books. We're going to do my book about spirituality and action, and then my book about your kids and ask. First step is admitting you have a problem. I'm also going to be doing some mentoring programs, so keep an eye out for that. We'll be looking for 3 to 5 mentors starting probably in April or May, to help with businesses so that I can get my consulting business off the ground. So keep an eye out for that. With that, I will let you go. Remember to ask the universe, listen to the spirits, let the God particles and qubits guide your way towards your highest and best timeline. Love and lightning out. Thank you for listening to Love and Lightning with Nicole. Catch us every second and fourth Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. If today lit something inside you, subscribe, share, or like, and spread the spark. Ready to be inspired? Take next steps? Check us out at loveandlightning.com. Check out my books, music, upcoming events, and let's stay connected on my social media. You can find me at Bad Vegan Nikki or lovealightning.com. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.